And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, every Monday night live on the GSMC Sports Network, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time, here to talk about the greatest thing in the world, professional wrestling. All the action inside and outside the ring, all the backstage curtain calls, all the rumors, all the dramas, all the conspiracy theories. We talk about it here on this show, 1010%. We talk about superstar, inactive statuses, injury updates. We talk about contract negotiations, extensions, and new signings from promotions like WWE to AEW to Ring of Honor to TNA, New Japan Professional Wrestling, Deathlock Professional Wrestling, Game Changing Wrestling, the NWA makes major news in the world of professional wrestling. We talk about it here on this show. 1010%, so do not be afraid. Do not forget to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. All right, without further ado, we're going to talk about some WWE NXT, but before we do any of that, I just want to remind you guys to go ahead and hit up that super chat. Support us. We need you guys. We love you guys 1010%, and we love bringing you guys awesome sports content that you guys can stream, that you guys could definitely check out on a day-to-day basis. Get all your news, get all your sports news from us, and it's absolutely FREE free, so do not be afraid. Give you the Eric Rodriguez guarantee. You will never, ever, 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 ever regret subscribing to such an amazing sports network to bring you all the sports content that you guys damn near yearn for. And we're here for that. We're here for that. You know, wrestling, baseball, basketball, football, you name it. We talk about it here. What if you got whether if you have a hot take or a question in terms of professional wrestling or just something you've been dying to get off your chest, here at the GSMC Sports Network, we are all ears. This show is all about keeping the conversation going, making sure you guys feel like you are part of the mix 1010%, so don't be shy. Drop your thoughts inside that chat, and if you really want to make sure your comment, question, or concern gets noticed, why not use that super chat box? Anything you guys put inside that chat box and you hit up that dollar sign is going to be guaranteed to be featured, talked about, debated about, maybe even take place of a segment on the show 1010%. So do not be afraid, do not be shy. This is a great way to support our network. We definitely need you guys 1010%. Your super chats helps us keep the lights on all these amazing podcasts with all these amazing, enthusiastic, charismatic, caring podcasters who have one goal in mind: to make sure you guys are fully sports satisfied with all the content that you guys love so damn much. We are super grateful for each and every one of you guys, so do not be afraid to Superman punch that like and subscribe button. Also, you guys make a difference. You guys make a difference 1010%. So let's keep the conversation going. Let's keep this party going. Send in those super chats and those super stickers because you guys are super awesome, and together we will make sure this is the best professional wrestling podcast in the world. So don't be shy. Drop your thoughts inside that chat, and make sure you guys hit up that tips and donations link. Whether if you gotta you either like what I'm saying or you hate what I'm saying, I want to know what you guys are feeling. I just want to remind you guys to Superman punch that. No, that was slow motion. Superman. All right, I'm gonna stop being a dork. That was my last dorky thing of the podcast, by the way. I'm just kidding. You don't give a dorky wrestling fan a podcast. I'm a Disney dad as well. I got two daughters and a little boy. So I'm not afraid to kind of jump out of my skin a little bit. Kind of be a little bit of dorky. I just want to make sure you guys are smiling 1,000. I saw that smile. I'm just kidding. No, not trying to get weird with it. That was the last time I was being a dork. Let's go and dig on into some WWE NXT. All right, we are gearing toward another awesome episode of NXT. I can't wait to watch it. Obviously, it's tomorrow on the USA Network. If you miss it, you can stream it live on Tubi. Well, not live, but you can, check it out. Surprisingly, we didn't really get a lot of, what's going to happen on NXT. Not at all, actually. So I was digging a little bit, basically based on what happened on NXT last week. I'm basically going to draft what I think is going to happen this week. But the only match that we have already written in stone is going to be Shawn Spears defending the NXT North American Championship against the up-and-coming, the Revolution that is Ricky Saints. I always want to say Starks. If I say Starks, do not be mad at me. I definitely think this is going to be a great match. Obviously, main event. It's going to be the main event. Both these guys former AEW stars, and then they're gonna go at it in a WWE ring. I feel like that is ultimately badass. I love that. And then this guy will probably prove dividends. I feel like Ethan Page will come out and cost Saints the match. And, obviously starting a feud between them. Because right now you have Shawn Spears with the culling. And it really doesn't need Starks. So dang it, I did it. I told you I would do it. Saints. You really don't need Saints there right now. Right now, Saints is still kind of being, built up as a WWE superstar. And, a guy who went from AEW, achieved absolute greatness on the NXT roster, it's Ethan Page. Ethan Page has been in and out of wrestling for decades. He is definitely, he's paid his dues. He's paid some time in the independent wrestling circuits. Also, he used to wrestle in TNA, I believe. I think he used to wrestle with Josh Alexander, or on a different promotion, but AEW as well. So if there's anybody that's going to kind of help Saints kind of get into the rhythm of things, how things happen in WWE, it's going to be Ethan Page. So I would rather see that match going on, I feel like, with Shawn Spears holding that NXT North American Championship. I feel like he could ultimately kind of be in storylines elsewhere. You don't really need to, I feel like they did ultimately kind of push Saints and Spears, a little bit too quick. I thought, it was going to be at least a couple of months. But now, NXT Stand and Deliver season is here. Why not? Triple threat match for the NXT North American Championship would be an absolute bombshell. And, of course, the underlying information of that is that these three ultimately, they left AEW for greater pastures in WWE. And, being brutally honest, I love Shawn Spears. Obviously he was, the Ty Dillinger, what is it, something 10? Perfect 10, 1, 2, 3. When he made his way back to WWE, he's been, killing it. Kind of under, he was injured a little bit. Obviously had an arm injury. You see his arm in a sling every week on NXT. But this is what NXT needs right now. You need Ethan Page, you need Shawn Spears, but ultimately you need this guy, Ricky Saints. The fans absolutely, they love him. They love him 1,010%. So, a title run so quick? I don't think so. Maybe, just maybe, finds a way to get it done at WWE NXT Stand and Deliver. I'll buy it. I feel like that would work. But not on NXT this Tuesday. I'm sorry, Ricky, but you will not be holding the NXT North American Championship when the night ends. What's going to happen with Fatal Influence? Recently, you saw Fallon Henley lose her rematch for the NXT Women's North American Championship. And, recently Jacy Jayne, she lost on TNA. I think she was there on TNA this Thursday. Who did she lose to? Oh, my God. Not Masha. It wasn't Masha. Was it Masha? I think it was. The TNA Knockouts World Champion. This group, full of talented stars. Of course, Jayne, Nix, Henley. Something needs to happen with these girls. Heading toward WrestleMania season. Well, we are in WrestleMania season. NXT Stand and Deliver season. I don't want to call it I ultimately kind of trashed this group before they kind of got started, and I feel kind of bad because, I was like, okay, here we go. We got Pure Fusion Collective. Once again, 3 amazing, talented women come together thinking that I was hoping that, Zoe Stark, Shayna Baszler, and Sonya Deville would do something in WWE. And then, with Jayne and Henley and Jasmine Nix, I was like, okay, cool, what's going to happen? Ultimately, to find out, I don't know if it's WWE creative story writing or, I don't really see these girls making much of a difference. Fallon was a good NXT, Women's North American Championship. No one can take that away from her. In the women's division, I feel like, Jada Parker's kind of falling off a ledge a little bit. Keilani Jordan is, too mixed up in her own head. Izzy Dame, I feel like she's going to get more bookings in the future. Nikita Lyons, Carmen Petrovich. A lot of these girls are, you know, I know Raw and SmackDown. They need some ultimately developing superstars within the organization, within the show. If you had Fatal Influence debut on SmackDown after WrestleMania, I personally think that would be great. You kind of have like a younger roster. Charlotte Flair, at this point, I didn't think she was going to beat Tiffany Stratton, but week after week after week, she's grilling Tiffany, and Tiffany honestly is kind of showing WWE that maybe she's not ready. So to hold that WWE Women's Championship, and she's had one hell of a run too. If Tiffany Stratton loses against Charlotte Flair, which she kind of ultimately like hinted at on SmackDown, she kind of gave herself a little bit of an undercover out. She's like, "Oh, if I lose against the greatest wrestler, women's wrestler, with all the prestige and accolades that is Charlotte Flair." Personally, one of her idols. Since she came to WWE, she has always, she's admired Charlotte Flair. That's kind of a cool little like fangirl match that they're gonna have. Obviously, keeping it on, keeping kayfabe. If you have Fatal Influence debut in SmackDown, I personally wouldn't see I don't see the problem with that. Then you have Charlotte Flair, Stratton, Michin, B-Fab. Nia Jax has been nowhere to be found. Candice LeRae. What is going on with Alexa Bliss? Then you have Jacy Jayne, Fallon Henley, Jasmine Nix come into the fray. You have the Secret, Hervis. The WWE Women's United States Champion Chelsea Green with Alba Fire and Piper Niven. I don't think that storyline's going really anywhere at this point, but if you kind of had these girls debut on SmackDown, it feels like it would be the right decision. Because right now in NXT, I feel like they're just lost. And I would rather see them within a purpose than not seeing them at all. Tatum Paxley, Gigi Doling, maybe potentially, challenging for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles ever since Raquel and Liv Morgan became champions. They haven't defended yet. I could be wrong. I don't think they have. In NXT, if you kind of see the tag team division kind of heat up a little bit, obviously Zarya and Sol Ruka as well, who actually defeated Paxley and Doling not too long ago. This is something that needs to happen. The women's division has been, it's sacred in WWE. Mostly when I talk about NXT on this show, I'm talking about these amazing, gifted, athletic girls who give their 1,010% to the company, and you can see it. Definitely, you can see represented inside the squared circle every given night on NXT. So I would love to see Zarya and Sol Ruka pick up some gold. I do. Having them kind of float around Raw, SmackDown, and NXT would be pretty badass, especially with how, with Zarya coming into the picture. I feel like they need championships. Sol Ruka has been ready for a championship. I thought she was going to win that ladder match, but of course, Keilani Jordan did. To crown the inaugural WWE Women's NXT North American Champion. But then again, I kind of feel for the meta girls here. Jakara Jackson, Lash Legend, pretty badass, has rapidly become one of my favorite women's tag team in general, with the men's division as well. I'm excited to watch them work. Zarya, Sol Ruka, bright future. I definitely want to see something grow within this women's division. Gigi Doling and Tatum Paxley would be an interesting mix. But it's going to be hard to take the titles off of Liv and Raquel, especially after they defeated Bianca Belair and Naomi, with this Jade Cargill storyline kind of lingering over. Liv Morgan, Raquel, they're the girls right now. They're the girls on Monday Night Raw. I don't honestly see any girls that are that much more interesting on the Raw roster, and I'm not trying to sound mean. I do like Lyra Valkyria. She's cool, but like I said, you haven't seen Zoe Stark. You have not seen Shayna Baszler, being featured on WWE Monday Night Raw TV. And basically everything's kind of circulated around Belair, Ripley, and, Io Sky. Maxine Dupree was seen on Monday Night Raw recently, basically asking about her future in WWE. So maybe we see a different side of Maxine Dupree. But if she keeps up this Alpha Academy attitude, I feel like, it's she's going to lose, So I definitely want to see something grow within this women's tag team division. Speaking of the women's tag team division, we got the men's, who's going to challenge Nathan Frazier and Axiom for those NXT World Tag Team Championships. Tyson and Tyreek picked up a huge victory over Hank and Tank, but Hank and Tank, they did a really good job. And also you have Josh Briggs and Inumura that are, they had one hell of a match against Fraxium. I thought it was pretty badass. It was a great match. So maybe we might see them triple threat, maybe Fatal 4-Way. We might find a way to kind of get something where, maybe OTM, Tavion Heights, and Miles Bourne of the No Quarter Catch Crew, who's been kind of recently been off of WWE TV as well. I just want to see something better. Stacks, we got Tony D'Angelo. Does Tony D'Angelo trust his right-hand man, Stacks Lorenzo, the underboss? I love this storyline. I love, Tony D'Angelo, and I love the family so much that I hope that this doesn't turn into a feud that they're going to fight at NXT Stand Deliver. I know last year we had Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes, but oh god, I love the family. I hope they don't break them up. What's next for Stephanie Vaquer? Well, Jordan Grace is. Jordan Grace is probably going to challenge for the NXT Women's Championship. Doubt the North American Championship. If she does, she will win. I feel like if she challenges for the NXT Women's Championship, she will lose. Are they going to keep the tag team? Are they going to keep the titles ultimately? Are they going to keep them not undisputed? That's not the right word. Damn it. Are they going to keep them linked together? No, that's not the right word as well. Are they going to keep them together? No. Unified. Are they going to keep them unified? I feel like it's dumb. I feel like something needs to change, and hopefully that's the change. Maybe Jordan Grace wins the NXT North American Championship. Next, we got Trick Williams. Is he a part of Darkstate? I feel like Darkstate, Retribution 2.0. No, I'm not trying to be mean. Trying to go for like a Shield with these, gifted, young, talented wrestlers. Why not have Trick be the leader? Why not? That's something that I don't think they've attacked him yet. They've attacked Javon Evans, Obafemi, maybe doing his dirty work. Trick Williams is obviously not the same guy we knew once when he lost that NXT championship. If he becomes a champion, takes it off of Oba, which is, I'm not too sure because I feel like, Trick Williams is going to take on Javon Evans. Or we might get a triple threat match for the NXT championship at Stand and Deliver. And that's when we truly find out that Trick Williams is actually the leader of Darkstate, which would be an absolute bombshell, which would be pretty badass, which would be, pretty cool. I would personally love to see that. Poor Javon Evans, though. Poor Javon Evans. Who's going to be the next challenger for, Elba Femi's NXT World Heavyweight Championship? Excuse me. But then again, he was the North American champion for quite some time, so you can't be too mad at me for messing that up. The NXT World Heavyweight Champion looking for a challenger. Like I said, Trick Williams, Javon Evans would ultimately be super badass. I would love it. I can't wait to see it. I feel like it would be absolutely great, 1,010%. All right, guys, so hey, do not go anywhere. We're going to jump on into our new next segment. We have AEW Dynasty predictions. We're going to get into each match. We're going to talk about some possibilities. I'm going to go ahead and fix that right quick because I am OCD like that. And, we're going to get into it. So grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice cold beverage. You're going to be here about 25 seconds. So, hey, do not go anywhere.